Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to caveat my question to say, look, if the Ukrainians are bravely willing to do the fighting and dying and asking us for the beans and bullets, that's a policy we should support. We should have done it much faster and before the war to actually establish deterrence, and that our smaller European allies are truly stepping up, the Baltics and Poland in particular. However, when you look at this chart, and when the American people see the disparity in how much the United States is providing, and then how much large economies, 46 billion versus Germany, 2.5 billion, versus Italy, 700 million, less than a billion, France, which is 4 times the size in the terms of their economy of Poland, even less than that. Mr. Secretary, I know you've had a lot of meetings, a lot of engagement. We can dispense with that. What are we doing to actually have burden sharing with our European allies? This war is on their doorstep. The Germans have already backed away from their 2% commitment. What are we doing to actually get them to step up to the plate? And would you call this burden sharing? Would you call this fair if you were an American taxpayer?
Well, again, we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that Ukraine is successful. But what we will continue to do is continue to engage at all levels, you know, my level, Secretary of State, President, and to encourage.
But the engagement, Mr. Secretary, according to actual metrics, isn't effective. And what I think, when I talk to my constituents, the American people, about continuing support for as long as it takes, as the President say, they ask me this question: what the hell are these large economies doing, the Germans in particular, to step up? The EU economies together are the same size as the American economy, right? I mean, they're roughly the same size. So do you think it's fair for them to question whether this, for the American people to question whether this is true burden sharing? Number one. And number two, how many countries now have lived up to their 2% commitment, despite years and years of engagement? How many out of the 30 NATO countries have lived up to their 2% GDP?
I don't have the current.
It's 7.
Yeah.
7 out of 30. That's pathetic. So I think it's reasonable for the American taxpayer to be sick and tired of subsidizing European social spending. Point one. Point two, on cartels. Chairman Milley, you participated in Plan Colombia personally. Initially, the Colombian government was against the provision of U.S. military resources, not boots running, you know, not an invasion of Colombia. We're not talking an invasion of Mexico now, but providing space, intel, satellite, special operations resources. We took down the Cali and Medellin cartels, correct? Successfully. That's right. And initially they were against it, then they were for it. Would it be helpful to authorize military resources, to authorize use of military force? And again, we're talking cyberspace intel and other resources to support law enforcement, to support the Mexican government, and to take out these cartels. We need to treat them more like ISIS than the mafia, because that's how they're behaving as they destabilize our border, huge portions of Mexico, and stand toe-to-toe with the Mexican army. Is that a fair assessment? Would you oppose that?
No, I wouldn't oppose it. What I want to do is give some thought, but the key, as you know, and you were there too, is to work, in this case, with the Mexican government, hand in glove with the Mexican government. And Plan Colombia was just that. It was a plan developed between both countries.
Actually, initially, the Colombian government opposed it. When we told them we're going to do it one way or another,
they did. Yeah.
They got on board.
That's right. And it was a very, very light footprint, very small, a lot of aid, a lot of assistance, a lot of intel, et cetera. So there are capabilities that we have, military.
Thank you. I just wanted to hear that you wouldn't,
no,
wouldn't be in opposition.
Things like that should be considered for sure.
We've talked a lot about China that seeks to displace the U.S., seeks to displace the U.S. military. Is it fair to say the Chinese Communist Party is in a Cold War against the United States as they seek global hegemony?
I would actually say it's more than a Cold War. I think this. I think we are in a. You have competition, so there's economic competition. That's normal competition between nation states. But I would say we're in a situation of competition.
I think we need to stop calling it competition and call it what it is. They're in a Cold War against the United States.
So what I'm about to say was.
Gentleman's
in
time
certain areas where
expired. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from
confrontation-
Pennsylvania,